People have been complaining about support a lot lately, haven't they? I mean, obviously recently with Ardent Censor and a lot of the crazy supports where you see Janna's just saving AD carries and letting them put out a ridiculous amount of damage bot lane, which that might be getting even worse with Ardent Censor kind of getting buffed in the next patch. But if you go back earlier this year, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago that we had Malzahar and Brand and all these AP mage supports terrorizing bot lane, which everybody hated as well. Supports are a role that has traditionally been the role that nobody's wanted to play because they feel like they can't have a big impact on the game, but it's been a little while now of people saying that support is becoming too annoying, that certain champions are popping up as champions that are too overpowered. Currently in patch 7.18, we have 4 supports that are all ban-worthy that you might see all of them banned in a single game of League: Janna, Sona, Soraka, and Lulu. Anyway, today I thought it might be kind of interesting if we go ahead and take some time to talk about what is it that we really want in our supports. Like, what is it that we think is a balanced support that's fun to play as, fun to play against, and not so frustrating that it feels like it's ban-worthy and completely breaking the game. Now, obviously, this is a subject that I am not well versed in. I am not a support main, so I apologize if I have any factually incorrect comments here. Feel free to correct me in the comments down below. But before we dive into this, I do want to say that this is a sponsored video from ProGuides.com. With YouTube demonetizing all my videos lately, I really appreciate sponsors like ProGuides more than ever. ProGuides, for those of you who don't know, is a service where you can go ahead and get tips, tricks, and strategies for how to improve at League of Legends yourself. There will be a free 7-day trial in the description down below, and thank you very much to ProGuides for not only sponsoring us, but also editing this video as well. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this video. So if I were to oversimplify all of the problems that supports have had in the past when it comes to certain supports becoming overpowered to a point where they're ban-worthy, I would say it's sort of summed up as follows. Imagine drawing 2 points and then connecting them with a line to create a sort of sliding scale, where on one side of the scale you have aggressive playstyles, and on the other side of the scale you have passive playstyles. Pretty much every single support in the game can be placed onto this graph based off of how crazy aggressive or crazy passively they will play throughout a game. So for instance, Malzahar might be the most aggressive support in-game because he's not even meant to be a support. He is a mage, an aggressive AP mage that is played support sometimes where he's doing nothing but putting out damage. Whereas on the other side of the scale, you would probably have Soraka as the most passive support in the game, being a champion who does have like one aggressive ability, but she's almost entirely heals, and because she's so squishy and has no mobility, she has to stand very far away and be very passive in team fights. Now, personally speaking, it's my belief that supports will become frustrating to deal with if they're ever in meta and on one extreme end of this sliding scale. So for instance, Malzahar, when he is overpowered, he is one of the most frustrating supports to deal with way back when he was played as support, where he just had so much damage and he did nothing but deal damage, lock down targets, and set up for kills where, I mean, especially with his point and click ultimate, it was an incredibly frustrating thing to deal with. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, passive supports can also become very, very frustrating, if not overpowered, just because you can't really do anything about them. You can't get to them in team fights because they play so far away and they're so passive that you can't stop their heals. You can't stop a Soraka from healing her entire team if she positions properly. So if her heals are so strong and overpowered that she's becoming a ban-worthy champion, you pretty much have to ban her. It's my belief that you need a bit of a mixture of aggressive and passive play to really balance out a support and make them a dynamic champion where you have a lot of interesting things going on in their kit, where they're both fun to play while not being crazy stupid to play against. Now, that doesn't mean you can't stylize champions to be more aggressive or more passive, but you just have to be kind of careful about that. For instance, Thresh would be a very good example of a champion who's smack dab in the middle of this scale, where he can be very aggressive and land hooks and use all of his abilities in an aggressive way to set up for kills for his team. He has a lot of crowd control, but it's not really that frustrating since he does have to land a skill shot to initiate all of this, really. But he also does have a lot of viability as a passive support, where he has some very good abilities that can be used to save teammates in the way that a passive support would play, where most notably his W, Dark Passage, can be used to save a teammate who's maybe gone way too far forward and is mispositioning, about to get caught out. He can save them with Dark Passage, where that's a very defensive ability that it can be used aggressively, but most of his abilities overall can be used either aggressively or passively. His Flay can be used to try and CC enemy opponents while he's chasing them down, or it can be used to knock back opponents to hopefully let his teammates escape. With both these aggressive and passive playstyles in Thresh's kit, you have have to use both of them to use him effectively in a game, where if you only play super passively and stand super far back and try and use dark passages to save teammates, then the other support is going to do a lot more than you and carry the game, where if you're only super aggressive, then that's pretty much the same mistake that you're making, although a little bit less so since Thresh is overall a more aggressive support. But because you have to be running all over a fight to use him well, that balances him out and gives counterplay to him, because if you ever misstep or if you ever get caught out with low health or something, then you can die and you can end up giving a gold lead to your opponents and all the bad things that come with dying in League. This is why I think that Riot should maybe balance out some of these extreme supports by bringing them more towards the center, which is something they seem to be thinking about doing, as they've already introduced some changes to Janna on the PvE that will be hitting next patch that makes her a much more aggressive support, forcing her to auto attack with a new passive where she deals auto damage, extra damage on auto attacks based off of her movement speed, I think, as well as she gets bonus damage on single target spells. Now, this is just a theory, it's just something I made up, and it's not necessarily a rule for balance or anything, and there are some other supports out there that can be annoying for other reasons entirely. Tahm Kench and Lulu are two that come to mind, where they have abilities like Tahm Kench's W and Lulu's ultimate that just, they make engaging and landing CC and all of this stuff an actively bad thing for you, because they can just negate it and save AD carries in really stupid and frustrating ways. Like, that's obviously something that doesn't really fit into this theory. But I do think that, especially for the passive supports right now that seem to be dominating the meta, if you give them a little bit more risk and a little bit more reason to step forward in team fights where they have to be more aggressive and open up opportunities for the enemy to engage on them and maybe kill them off so they can't get their million Soraka heals off, then that's something where you can have a little bit more counterplay and maybe balance out some of these supports that are getting a little bit ridiculous. Riot is obviously trying to fix Janna already. She is the big one that is the classic E-Grill support that just, you sit back and you shield your AD carry all day. I'm interested to see if Riot is maybe going to try doing similar things with other champions, and if they do, then maybe we'll see if this actually is a good idea and a way to balance out some of these champions, or maybe I am all completely full of hot air. Anyway, like I said earlier, I know that I am personally very bad at support, and I probably do not know what I'm talking about, not entirely at least. So for the support mains watching this video, feel free to leave some comments and let me know where I'm wrong, and if you have any opinions on this subject where you have different ideas maybe for how you'd like to balance out these champions. But either way, thank you very much for making it all the way to the end of this video and hearing me out. I will of course see you all tomorrow, but until then, thank you very much for watching, good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.